In our next coaster review, we are discussing Mind Blower at Fun Spot Kissimmee in Florida. This is Florida's only inverting wooden roller coaster, as well as one of the few wooden coasters in Florida. It is also the first gravity group wooden coaster to go upside down, at least from the ground up. We aren't counting Hades 360 because that coaster existed prior to the inversion. So this coaster was kind of a big deal. And it really put Fun Spot Kissimmee on the map because the Orlando park was doing really well with White Lightning and all of the investment it had been receiving, so they decided to send a new wooden coaster to the Kissimmee location, and it's really been giving it a lot of attention. So let's talk about this ride. It is new for 2017, and we got some decent stats here. You have to remember, this isn't going to be a huge roller coaster because of the type of park that this is, but the stats are actually pretty good. We have a height of 83 feet, drop of 81 feet, top speed of 49 miles per hour, and a track length of a little under 2,300 feet. And the entire layout is very compact. This coaster is all about winding in and around itself. They did not have much space to build this ride. If you look at what the space was like before this existed, it's really quite amazing how much of a ride they packed into what they had to work with. And you'll notice that as you're riding, you really are weaving in and out of the structure. And I'd say even though it's not even like 3,000 feet long, it's a good ride length. The ride didn't feel short, but also didn't feel like, okay, is it over yet? I think that they nailed the ride time, and I think that they did the layout very well. You have this quick ascent up the lift hill, and then you have like a switchback like turnaround into the drop, very tight. You got a good drop, pretty steep, and then you go into this killer inversion. Probably my favorite part of the ride. Although you do have lots of airtime moments and overbanks, but that inversion, very well done. And as with a lot of other gravity group wooden coasters, the airtime that you're getting on this ride is ejector. And you'll feel it whether you're in the front seat or the back seat. Now, as with a lot of wooden coasters, front seat is going to be a bit smoother, but you really get pulled over the drop in those airtime hills if you're in the back. So I guess it just depends on which one you'd rather go on. Now regarding smoothness, that is really my main complaint with this ride. This coaster is not very re-rideable because it's kind of rough. And that was a little disappointing for me because this is new for 2017. It shouldn't be rough. I rode White Lightning the day before I rode this coaster, and White Lightning is still running very smooth, and that coaster's been out for a while. So I was disappointed that this coaster definitely kind of has a bite to it. For me, it made it so that I didn't want to just immediately keep on marathoning this thing. I would say that this isn't one of those coasters that you just marathon. You do one or two rides, then you sit out, maybe you go ride something else, and then you come back to it. Again, I think they do a lot of things right, but it really was lacking in the smoothness department. It wasn't in the kind where it made the ride super uncomfortable. It just kind of rattled your bones a bit. And as you're going around on the track, your body's shaking a bit. It's not a jerky ride. Actually, the transitions are done very well. Again, really is just the smoothness of the wheels on the track. And if there's a way that they can fix that, again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't exactly know what process you go through to do that. But if they can pull that off, then I think that they have an even better ride on their hands. But until they do that, Mind Blower is good. It is a good ride, but it isn't great. What would make it great is if they made it smoother. And I'm not trying to hate on it. Again, this is a solid roller coaster. It did wonders for this park. I think I was just expecting it to be as smooth as White Lightning, and I was surprised when it wasn't. So that's kind of it for the ride experience. Now, when you go to actually ride this, you can ride it with a wristband that you get from the park that gets you on all of the attractions, or you can pay to just ride it once. You'll get it scanned before you go into the station. When I went, it was absolutely dead. There was no one there. So you hop in your vehicle. Trains are very comfortable. You have the classic Timberliner design. Looks good. And at the front of the car are these rockets or fireworks. So let it be known, Fun Spot themed their coaster to explosives. So that's always fun. But there isn't actually any theming during the ride experience. I was told at some point that they were going to add tunnels, but there isn't actually any tunnels during the ride, and I don't really know where in the layout they would add those. Because, the way that the coaster runs, half of the time it's already in a structure, which kind of feels like a tunnel in itself. So that's kind of interesting that they said they'd do that. So I don't know if that's still, going to happen, or if they're waiting. But anyways, that pretty much sums up my thoughts on Mind Blower. So for its final score, I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8. And really the only way that it could get higher is if it were smoother. And I'm not saying that just because I want to hate on it or anything. I sincerely think that the smoothness was a pretty big issue for this ride. And if you fix that, yeah, it would bring it up 2 more points to give it that perfect score. I think they did everything they could have with the layout. I think the layout, they got spot on. You got a great double down, some awesome transitions. There's like a 110 overbank curve in this thing. They really did well with that. If you make it smoother, then you'll really have a winner on your hands that time. So that's my thoughts on Mindblower. Let me know about what you think about it in the comment section below if you've written it, if you want to write it. Of course, stay tuned for more reviews coming soon to Coaster Studios.